flashback started taking place 47 years ago in the South Blue, the kingdom of Sorbet. A boy was born. His cries resonated through the village, spreading joy to everyone present. People congratulated his parents for a happy big baby. His kind father and mother held his hand and welcomed him to the world. "Hello, Kuma. We are so glad to finally meet you," they said. Kuma's father asked the doctor not to tell anyone about Kuma's blood, and the doctor said that he didn't have to worry. He wouldn't tell anyone. Clap held Kuma and commented, "What a cheerful baby." Soon after, despite Clap's wishes, Kuma's blood information was leaked to the world government. The doctor came running and told Clap, "I'm sorry, Clap. You've got to run. There were government agents in the hospital." He cried, "I'm sorry." This caused them all to be captured and enslaved by the world nobles. Clap begged, "Just take me. I'm the one with buccaneer blood. My wife is normal. Please let her and my son go. I beg you." Kuma's mother told Kuma, "It's okay. It'll all be okay." Kuma was forced to work. An ugly celestial dragon commented on Kuma's strength. "Wow, look at his power, and so young." Kuma's master responded, "This mongrel is a buccaneer." He then started beating him for being slow, and when Kuma cried, he told him if he didn't stop crying, he would kill him. After some time, Clap met him. "Hey Kuma," he said, "how are you holding up?" Kuma replied, "Fine, Daddy. Master's so kind to me. I'm very lucky." Clap then told Kuma, "I have something to tell you. Mommy has passed away and gone to heaven. Isn't that wonderful? She's in a better place now." Kuma had a complete breakdown, but Clap tried to calm him. "But Kuma, you're strong. You can survive this. You must be brave and bear it for me." "But why?" Kuma asked. "Isn't death so much easier?" Clap said, "The warrior of liberation will come and save you. The sun god, Nika. That name has been passed down through buccaneer folklore for generations. Nika will come and take you out to sea, where you will be under the sun and free. Nika always smiles, and the people never fail to laugh when they hear his drum beat." Clap started dancing and singing in the rhythm of Nika's heartbeat to cheer him up, but was then shot and killed for being too loud. Several years later, around 38 years ago, in the West Blue, an ugly celestial dragon announced while others were cheering, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Remember, this event only takes place once every 3 years. Don't miss your chance to take part. It's the Native Cleansing Festival. The venue chosen this time is this non-government affiliated country. They call it God Valley. This blasphemous name was given to the island as it has an abundance of natural resources. The world government has just annexed this land, so it can be the site of our traditional human hunt. The king of God Valley tried to stop them. How selfish can you be? You want to slaughter our citizens for sport? Have you lost your minds? This is our country." But he was killed by someone. The announcer said, "Not so fast, St. Garling. No head starts. He's already struck down the king of the natives. Heavy favorite St. Garling will start with negative 10,000 points. It is revealed that the guy who killed the king is St. Figureland Garling of Holy Night, who is supreme commander of Holy Night in the present day." Garling remarks, "The handicap will make for better competition," the announcer said. "In addition to the rabbit natives, we have a selection of problem slaves and criminals to hunt." Saturn was present during the event and was informed, "They've caught the escaped child, sir, the buccaneer boy." The ones who had done so, however, were other slaves who told Kuma, "Trying to run away? How selfish can you get? They put us into groups of 10 for collective punishment, you know. If you got away, the rest of us would have been killed." Suddenly, a figure appeared. "Hey, wait up. So you are the star of this farce? A buccaneer? No wonder," he said. "You carry the blood of the giants in you." They were two people, a young Emporio Ivankov and Ginny. Both were slaves. Ginny remarked, "Big bro here is pretty big himself, don't you think?" Ivankov said, The only thing big about me is my head. Not. Now listen, you morons. Why do you all have hopeless looks glued to your faces? I, for one, want to live. Well, what are you going to do? Havoc of misery ran deep within the hearts of the natives as the oppressive world nobles coldly elucidated the rules of the native hunting competition. Behold the 13 super rare rabbits, each a coveted prize worth 10,000 points. Furthermore, there are 150 rare rabbits to test your hunting prowess. Achieve one-hit kills for an excellence bonus, and the grand champion shall be rewarded with illustrious prizes. The arrogant Garling couldn't resist boasting. Watch this, children. A confident girl adorned with a hat declared with certainty, that trophy will undoubtedly belong to the Manmayer family. A mysterious figure wearing a gas mask chimed in, challenging Garling. You won't win this one, Garling. The natives found themselves running desperately for their lives, engulfed in terror, yearning for the nightmare to end. You can't do this. It's unconscionable. Wake me up from this nightmare. Human beings shouldn't treat other humans as toys, they pleaded. Some world nobles attempted to exploit their privilege, seeking an early start, only to be halted with a warning. Not so fast, boys. Obey the rules. Meanwhile, there are 200 world noble hunters. A chilling announcement rang out. The hunt will commence in an hour. Run and hide, rabbits. Meanwhile, at the Navy headquarters, Kong urgently reached out to the venerable Monkey D. Garp, who was reluctantly interrupted during his vacation. Garp inquired with a gruff tone, "Why such a remote island?" Kong, burdened with the weight of an ominous secret, responded, "I can't tell you. Please, Garp, just go. We're not certain yet, but we can't afford to take chances." Garp, with a hint of frustration, retorted, "Is this the Celestial Dragon's little field trip? I warned you not to mess with Hachinosu, but who listens to me? That was treasure from Pirate Island. Of course they'll come back to get it." Kong, troubled, questioned, "Who leaked that information?" Garp, a seasoned voice of caution, responded, "Hey, they've got plenty of security, right? Why the fear?" Kong, now concerned about the unexpected involvement of Roger, revealed, "Well, the thing is, we didn't think Roger would get involved." Garp acknowledged the concerning revelation with a gruff response, "Lead with that next time." Without hesitation, he promptly declared his commitment, "I'm going." On the bustling pirate island Hachinosu, voices erupted among the pirate crews. "The Rocks pirates have already left. We gotta catch up. This is a huge deal in the pirating world." Simultaneously, on God Valley, panic ensued as the natives faced the brutality of the competition. In the midst of the chaos, Ivankov took charge, rallying a group with impassioned words. The reality of this atrocity itself will be erased from history. They've concocted this sick murder game to drive off the inhabitants and seize its resources. Would you believe that the 100,000 rabbits who live here will all be dead in just 3 weeks? Is this real life, or is this hell? An old man contemplated. But if we can survive the next 3 weeks, we'll be free. Ivankov, dismissing such dreams, countered, "Stop dreaming, fool. The total number of survivors of all of these games combined is 0. A voice questioned, "But why would they tell us that, just to give us hope?" Ivankov, with a cynical edge, replied, "Because it's the hope that makes us struggle and run. What's so fun about killing people who fall in abject despair? Don't waste your time dreaming of salvation in this sick game. We have to escape the game itself." In the thick of the competition, Garling emerged as a formidable force, accumulating a staggering 100,000 points by targeting the high-value rabbits. Live footage of the intense contest was broadcasted in the prestigious Holy Land of Mary Joaz. Amidst the turmoil, Ivankov, with the help of a shark fishman, broke free from his chains. "Yes, it's off. Thanks for those mighty jaws, my shark fishman friend," Ivankov acknowledged. The grateful fishman, unused to such gratitude, responded, "Thank you. No one's ever said that to me before." Ginny, revealing the enticing prizes, disclosed, "They've got one of the most powerful devil fruits in existence, allowing the user to transform into a mythical azure dragon. And also the pawpaw fruit, which permits the user to send others and themselves to distant islands. They're both here on God Valley." Ivankov, recognizing the potential escape route, suggested, "If any of us can eat them, the dozens of us here can get past the Navy blockade and escape this hell." The catch: the fruits were inconveniently located at the center of the island. However, Ginny, the resourceful member of the group, shared a secret. "I'm a pro at thieving, tapping, and transmissions. 2 weeks ago, I managed to send a message about the island to the outside. Maybe someone heard it. Anyway, for our plan, we're going to need a decoy." Offering himself as the sacrificial decoy, Kuma bravely declared, "I'm big and hardy, so I can survive longer than others, and I don't want to see anyone die anyway." Ivankov, acknowledging his courage, accepted. "Well said, Kuma. I won't let them kill you. Let's get off God Valley together." The serene atmosphere surrounding God Valley was abruptly shattered as the unsuspecting Navy ships fell victim to sudden and intense attacks. Shocked cries resonated through the air. What was that? The bewildered Marines quickly identified the assailants as none other than the notorious Rox pirates, positioned to the east of the island. However, the unsettling revelation unfolded further as more pirate ships, belonging to infamous crews, appeared on the horizon. Panic and confusion gripped the Marines as they questioned in astonishment, "Why didn't we hear about this? What do they want?" The unexpected and coordinated assault left the Navy scrambling for answers, their strategic advantage compromised by the surprise onslaught. In the midst of the escalating chaos, Rox, the formidable captain, dismissed the Navy's efforts with disdain, declaring, "You waste your time, Navy." With unwavering authority, he commanded his notorious crew, the Rox pirates, to follow him onto the island. The crew comprised legendary figures such as Edward Newgate, Shiki, Buckingham Stussy, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido, Gloriosa, Captain John, and others, each bringing their formidable reputation to the unfolding clash. Intriguingly, the crew also included familiar faces from the thriller Bark arc, adding an unexpected dimension to the unfolding narrative. Whitebeard, the indomitable pirate, couldn't let Rox take the lead without a challenge. He called out, "Not so fast, Rox. Who said I was your follower, fool?" Stussy, known for her sharp wit, couldn't resist a sarcastic comment. "Oh, Newgate, not you too." Tensions heightened as Gloriosa and Stussy exchanged biting remarks. Shiki, exuding confidence, remarked, "I assume it's Finder Keepers," while Big Mom staked her claim with determination. "They'll be mine." Kaido, ever defiant, responded to Linlin's claim. "But you can't do anything with them, Linlin." Captain John, injecting humor into the intense situation, commented with a laugh, "That's my treasure." Whitebeard voiced his concern, stating, "I just know that fool Rox will lose sight of the goal. We have to be certain first." His words carried a weight of caution, urging the crew to prioritize clarity before plunging into the impending clash. Shiki, fueled by frustration, responded furiously, "Stop acting like you're the leader here. I'll blow 'em all up." The fiery retort reflected the mounting tempers within the crew, each member vying for dominance in the unfolding confrontation. Big Mom commented, "Let's just steal what we're after and scram. All these dreamers with their heads in the clouds." Her words hinted at a desire for efficiency and a swift resolution, contrasting with the escalating tensions among the pirates. Kaido, bearing a visage of anger, declared, "I hear Roger's on the move. He's the last man I'll let." However, before he could elaborate, Big Mom intervened with a calm demeanor. "Calm down, kid." Stussy remarked, "Today's the final fight, I assume," capturing the gravity of the impending clash. Captain John responded with determination, "That's the idea. We'll settle it once and for all." Gloriosa added her own resolve, stating, We'll settle it once and for all. In the midst of this intense exchange, an unfamiliar face in the corner observed the unfolding drama with a mysterious smile, adding an element of intrigue to the already complex dynamics within the Rock's pirates. The convergence of powerful personalities and conflicting motives hinted at a clash that would not only define the fate of God Valley, but reverberate through the annals of pirate history. The news of the Rock's pirates making landfall spread like wildfire, reaching the ears of the celestial dragons. Their entitled voices rose in a cacophony, shouting, "What is the Navy doing? If they lay a single finger on us..." The very idea of any potential threat to the celestial dragons stirred panic and demands for immediate action. The Marines, on the other hand, were caught in the whirlwind of confusion and chaos. An official announcement rang out, revealing the convergence of pirate crews from all corners. The perplexed Marines questioned, "How did it get out? This was too secret." The clandestine nature of the operation had been compromised, leaving the Navy scrambling for answers. The purpose of the pirate crew's sudden convergence remained unclear, casting a shadow over the unfolding events on God Valley. The Marine warning echoed, "Watch out on the western shore," signaling a heightened state of alertness as the impending clash between the powerful pirate factions and the Navy unfolded. As Roger and his crew made their dramatic entrance, an air of tension enveloped the scene. Rayleigh commented with a sense of anticipation, "This is going to be a wild one." Roger poured out his yearning, stating, "It's been a whole year. Do you have any idea how I've felt all this time?" Scopper Gaban asserted, "No special privilege for the captain here, Roger." Meanwhile, Garling, tasked with defending the world nobles, barked orders, "Pull back the sailors and have them guard the celestial dragons. The Holy Knights will handle this." A mysterious, reaper-like figure disdainfully remarked, "Pathetic. What was the point of the blockade?" A bewildered native, caught in the crossfire, queried, "What's happening?" Marines exclaimed, "It's Roger and Rox. This one might be too much for us." Suddenly, a monumental explosion of hockey emanated from a distance. "Help has arrived," jubilant Marines shouted. "It's Vice Admiral Garp. Wow, we're saved." Garp, renowned as Garp the Fist, along with Bogard, his right-hand man, and his soldiers, descended upon the battlefield, tipping the scales and escalating the conflict. Garp, with determination etched on his face, demanded, "Tell me where to find Roger." Amidst the chaotic battleground, Ivankov and Kuma navigated through the frenzy, successfully securing the two coveted devil fruits. In the midst of the tumult, they marveled at their fortune, with Ivankov expressing, "It's absolute chaos. I can't believe our luck." With a sense of urgency, Kuma questioned, "This is it?" Ivankov, determined to seize the opportunity, affirmed, "It sure is. I don't know which is what, but let's eat them." However, their quest for newfound power faced an unexpected obstacle. Before Ivankov could consume the fish fruit model, Azure Dragon, Charlotte Linlin intervened, slamming him into a wall and seizing the prized fruit. Undeterred, Linlin sought to claim the paw fruit as well. In a strategic move, Ivankov instructed Kuma, "Eat it, Kuma. Don't think. Eat the fruit and save yourself. We just need one survivor. And then, we've won." Responding to Ivankov's directive, Kuma hastily consumed the paw fruit. However, their moment of triumph was short-lived as an unexpected adversary, J. Garcia Saturn, launched a sudden attack on Kuma. Saturn confronted Kuma with a tone of grim determination. He solemnly declared, "The Buccaneer boy, your only options are slavery and death. History itself chose them for you." Kuma, grappling with the weight of his choices, questioned Saturn, "Are you important, mister?" He expressed a profound belief, stating, "It doesn't make sense that you're born important, and there's no reason for someone to be born a slave." Defying the predetermined roles society had thrust upon him, Kuma boldly proclaimed his aspirations, saying, "If I've got some kind of power, then I want to be like Nika, and save as many of these unfortunate people as I possibly can." In this moment of turmoil and conflict, Kuma showcased a resolve to break free from the chains of fate and use his newfound strength for a nobler cause, echoing the sentiments of liberation and salvation. With an intense and furious gaze, Saturn reinforced his ominous declaration, stating, "Which is why you people will vanish for good." As Kuma faced Saturn, a surge of hockey exploded on the island. "Wait, Rox," Roger exclaimed. But Rox, consumed by his own ambitions, dismissed him. "Out of my way, Roger." Following these tumultuous events, the God Valley incident would fade into the shadows of history. In Sorbet Kingdom, South Blue, amidst the tumultuous aftermath, Kuma, Ivankov, and Ginny managed to escape God Valley. Ivankov, cynical about the power dynamics, remarked, "The only news story is the legend of Garp's heroics. They won't print anything else. Just what the powerful want." This Morgan's writer is such a hack. We still have no idea what happened on that island. The trio sought refuge in Kuma's hometown, finding solace in the quiet walls of a church. As Kuma prayed, Ivankov, with curiosity, asked, "Why are you still praying, Kuma?" Kuma, burdened by the memories of lives he couldn't save, replied, "I'm thinking of the other lives I could have saved." Ivankov, offering reassurance, stated, "You saved over 500 lives back there." Ginny, with a heartfelt acknowledgement, chimed in, "That's right, Kumachi. You were amazing." Everybody was crying with gratitude. Even I was. Ivankov, recognizing Kuma's newfound powers, added, "Now you've got hands of liberation that set people free." Kuma, a hint of a smile on his face, looked at his hands. "Hands of liberation," he said. Ivankov, attempting to unravel Kuma's past, remarked, "So your family ran a church. Explains so much about you." Ivankov, seizing the opportunity for newfound freedom, decided to set sail on his own, leaving Kuma and Ginny in Sorbet. "Well, it's time for me to go to sea," he declared. "I've got to make the most of this freedom." Kuma, filled with gratitude, told Ivankov, "For as long as I live, Eva, I'll never forget your face." With a laugh, Ivankov replied, "No one ever has." Ginny, choosing to stay by Kuma's side, said, "I'm gonna stay here with Kumachi and figure out what to do with my life, bro." Ivankov left, carrying the hope of a reunion. Now alone in Sorbet, Ginny reflected, "I'm 4 years older, so it's up to me to feed little Kumachi." The duo embarked on a journey of survival, chopping wood to sell and make ends meet. "No more digging through the trash. No more stealing. We buy our food," Ginny declared. When Kuma faced mockery from kids who deemed him a monster, in defense of Kuma, Ginny courageously confronted the children, standing up against their unjust accusations. However, the altercation concluded with Kuma's characteristic humility prevailing. He apologized, saying, "I'm sorry about that. Ginny's actually very nice." Moved by a genuine desire for reconciliation, Kuma, harnessing the extraordinary powers within him, channeled his abilities to alleviate the physical pain endured by the children. A wave of relief swept over them, transforming their expressions from discomfort to pure joy. Grateful and astonished, the children exclaimed, "It's better. The pain just flew away." Was that magic? As night fell, the two sat down for dinner. When Ginny's stomach remained unsatisfied, Kuma, ever selfless, offered her his portion. "You eat so much, Ginny. We've got a lot of work to do," Kuma remarked. Ginny, gazing out the window, pondered, "When did they turn you into a slave, Kumachi?" Kuma, with a somber honesty, replied, 4. Ginny, finding camaraderie in their shared past, exclaimed, "Hey, me too." Kuma, cautioning against celebrating such a fate, remarked, "It's not something to celebrate." Overwhelmed by the emotional weight of their freedom, Ginny, with tears in her eyes, cried out, "I'm so full." Kuma, sharing in the joy of newfound freedom, joined her in tears, saying, "What? Don't cry, Ginny." The two, bound by their shared journey, broke down in tears of gratitude and happiness.
Eight years have passed after the God Valley incident, and Kuma is still in the kingdom of Sorbet. He is now known as Pastor Bartholomew Kuma. He has grown into a young man and is seen helping the older people on the island to recover from their body pain. The old lady who was getting treated blamed. The young people of the country for the country's poor economic conditions, as there are very few of them left in the country. All the old people in the church are happy that Kuma has such a great power that can relieve them from their body pain. They then ask him whether he could perform the pain relief session on weekdays too. Hearing, Ginny enters the room and says, "No chance, only Sunday." She then further says, "How is it that some bunch of free old people like you think of asking for more help? It's not a nursing home for you guys to get free treatment." Hearing this, the old man says, "If you weren't such a cutie, I would have told you to wash your face. I even heard that there is no end to people knocking your door every day just to be in relationship with you." Ginny then asks them to not change the subject. But the old ladies just kept on praising Kuma for his calm face and kind heart, which made Ginny angry. One of the ladies present amongst them tells them that as much as they would love to make a donation to the church and help Kuma, the reality is that we have been struggling just to pay the celestial tribute. And I am sure you might have heard about our new king. They say King Bakori is a cold-hearted man and will do anything to pay the celestial tribute. He doesn't even consider the situation of old people like us who are very sick to pay the money. They further say that if we fail to pay the tribute, he will lock us up in jail, you know. The other day, one of my acquaintances died in jail because of starvation. Can you believe a king not feeding his prisoners? But he is happy to be a lapdog to the celestial dragons. See now, do you understand the importance of being in good health? To which Kuma replies, "Don't worry, I can get rid of any pain or mild illness you need me to, so people visit every week if you want." Then the old people leave the church and thank Kuma again for everything he has done. Then we see Kuma standing in front of a huge bubble, if you guys remember. The same kind of bubble that Zoro agreed to touch to save Luffy. Kuma then gathers all his willpower and touches the bubble of pain, which causes him extreme pain. Ginny, who knows about everything, just sits on the ground and starts crying because of the pain that Kuma has to go through to help others. Ginny then helps him and says, "Those old people have no idea that you are taking on their pain and you still keep on doing this week after week." To which Kuma replies, "It can't be helped. If someone doesn't shoulder their burdens, their pain and suffering won't just disappear." He further says, "If I leave the bubble be, it will return to the original person. But I am happy as long as everyone can be happy. I am sorry. I made you worry. If I train more, I can become even more stronger." To which Ginny says, "But that's not the problem here." Kuma then changes the topic by letting Ginny know that they got food in return for their help, so let's eat, which makes Ginny happy. The chapter then fast forwards to when Kuma becomes 22 years old. We see Ginny asking Kuma to marry her, to which Kuma says no. Then she asks Kuma, "You love me, right? Just admit it, you do. Wouldn't it make you happy?" To which Kuma replies, "I am sure it would, but the thing is, I don't want to make you unhappy." Kuma then remembers how his entire family was killed because of his father being a part of the Buccaneers tribe. Kuma then shows Ginny an article about the freedom fighters. He says, "They finally issued wanted posters for them after they riot in several countries against the celestial dragons." He then looks at Dragon's poster and says, "He is so cool. He is like a hero. One day I also want to head out to sea and dedicate my life to save people too, just like him." Then the fishermen of the town knock it on their door to give them some freshly caught fish, as it was a good fishing day for them. Then the manga cuts to the time when Kuma became 25. Kuma is seen in the castle town, shouting at the guard for kidnapping the old people and ordering them to leave them immediately. To which the guards reply, "Do you want to defy the kingdom's army, you big monster?" They further say, "Did you not hear about the new law, according to which we are free to use every person in the southern city as we wish?" To which Kuma asks, "Are you going to enslave them?" He then uses his devil fruit power to blast away the guards, creating a mess in the city. According to the king's new policy, The northern area of the island will be known as the Kingdom of Sorbet. The heavenly tribute citizens pay to the world government is decided by the value of citizens. Therefore, old people who pay a little are a pain in the ass. If we cut them off, our country will flourish. Then we see Kuma and Ginny. Kuma is arrested for causing trouble in the town, but he asks the others for the reason. They are been held captive, to which Ginny replies, "We raised our voice against the kingdom, trying to get them to free you, Kumachi. But at the end, we also got beaten up and eventually end up in jail with you." Kuma then says to Ginny, "This country is on the brink of becoming a discriminatory kingdom." To which Ginny says, "King Bakori is a celestial dragon puppet. This new policy was given to him by them. If you are planning on starting a rebellion, you will be signing up to fight the world government as well." Meanwhile, a group of people attacks the kingdom, and the king decides to save his life by trying to flee from the island. But to their surprise, Dragon and Ivankov are waiting for them. They say, "Do you think we let you escape? This is what you get for being a wannabe celestial dragon. Just looking at you makes me sick." Eventually, the king was dethroned and the kingdom was saved, and the people of the kingdom started laughing again. And so, the mysterious band saves the kingdom of Sorbet from the corruption of the world government. Ivankov, along with Dragon, then enters the prison room and says, "Looks like you made quite a mess, recommended man. Kuma, Ginny, they arrested you, haven't they? We have come to save you." Kuma and Ginny recognize the voice and shout, "Big brother," to which Ivankov replies, "You haven't changed a bit, Kuma. Let's change the world together." The onset of the great pirate era and the tragedy of O'Hara spurred these freedom fighters to take up arms against the corrupt regimes of the world, starting numerous insurrections. It doesn't take long for the two pillars of this movement to become three, as Dragon and Ivankov recruited Kuma to their cause. This organization would then adopt a new name, one that echoed around the world: the Revolutionary Army. Dragon then says, "We are still lacking funds, for now we must act like mercenaries, supporting those who already have a will to topple their monarchs, fueling their rebellion spirits. All our recruits get weapons training drilled into them. I want us to grow into a boundless army spread throughout the world." Kuma then asks Dragon about his weapons training, to which Dragon replies, "I was with the Navy before. Unfortunately, I found no justice there." Ivankov says, "Marine or revolutionary, he is a man determined to help others." Kuma then pledges his loyalty to Dragon, and I Return Dragon says, "You won't regret this decision." 8 years have passed since Kuma joined the Revolutionary Army, and he then returns to his kingdom. Everyone in the kingdom is happy to see Kuma and are enjoyed to see him again. Then the chapter takes us to a kingdom where Ginny and his troops are resting. One of the officers spots happiness on Ginny's face, to which Ginny says, "Did you see it on my face? Well, it's about tomorrow. We will be meeting up with Komachi's division, right? That's why I am happy." They then discuss how lucky Komachi is, and talk about how everyone idolizes and loves him. Then the chapter ends with the news that Ginny was captured, and it was an unexpected ambush from an unknown enemy. We discover that Ginny has been swept away and forced into marriage with a celestial dragon, a character shrouded in mystery in this chapter. We learn the devastating news that Ginny's comrades in the Revolutionary Army were completely wiped out by an unexpected strike from the world government forces. Following her abduction, the Revolutionary Army's tactics took a darker turn, their attacks growing fiercer and more relentless in their struggle. Then scene shifts to Revolutionary Army, which is on a mission in the Goa Kingdom, where they're seen gathering allies. In the midst of this, Kuma uses his powers to warp to a distant island, where he lends his strength to fellow insurgents. Astonishingly, Kuma turns the tide of conflict there single-handedly, showcasing his formidable abilities. The plot thickens with a jaw-dropping revelation. Jewelry Bonnie, known to us for her own unique powers, is unveiled to be the offspring of Ginny and the celestial dragon she had been coerced into marrying. 2 years following her abduction,
A grim turn of events befalls Ginny as she comes down with a fatal illness known as sapphire scale. This condition is exceedingly rare, surpassing even the rarity of amber lead syndrome that once afflicted Trafalgar D. Waterlaw during his childhood. The disease manifests uniquely. Exposure to natural sunlight transforms the patient's skin to a blue hue, petrifying it to a rock-like hardness, which ominously reflects the name sapphire scale. Years passed, filled with fear and uncertainty for Ginny's fate. The disease had taken its toll, transforming her physical appearance beyond recognition. Her once vibrant beauty had faded, replaced by the ravages of the illness. News of her condition reached the outside world, stirring a wave of sympathy and concern for the young princess. One day, a glimmer of hope emerged. Whispers circulated that Ginny had been released from her confinement, her identity concealed by the disease's cruel touch. It was said that she had returned to the Sorbet Kingdom, leaving Bonnie in the care of the island's elders, who would continue his education and training. The news of Ginny's release brought a sense of relief and joy to those who cared for her. Though her physical form had been altered, her spirit remained unbroken. She had endured unimaginable hardships, yet her determination to reclaim her life shone brightly. Whatever the truth, Ginny's release marked a turning point in her story. She had survived the ordeal, her spirit unbroken, and now faced the daunting task of rebuilding her life in a world that no longer recognized her. Years after her release, Ginny returned to the Sorbet Kingdom, leaving Bonnie in the care of the island's elders. She then sought out the Revolutionary Army, contacting them from the church she once shared with Bartholomew Kuma. Despite her longing to see them again, she knew it was time to bid farewell. Ivankov and Kuma were shocked by her decision, but Ginny explained that she could no longer pretend to be the person she once was. Kuma, desperate to stay by her side, vowed to follow wherever she went, but Ginny knew he had a responsibility to the Revolutionary Army and to Bonnie. With a heavy heart, she bid farewell to her friends, leaving behind the memories of their shared past and stepping into the unknown. The narrative takes a poignant turn when the Revolutionary Army pinpoints Ginny's whereabouts. This discovery sets the stage for Kuma to employ his devil fruit abilities to journey instantly to the Sorbet Kingdom. According to leaked details, Ginny's final words to Kuma are a confession of her love for him, but tragically, he is already in the process of teleporting and does not hear her heartfelt admission. By the time Kuma materializes in the Sorbet Kingdom, Ginny has passed away. In a somber sequence, he takes on the duty of laying her to rest, adding a layer of solemnity to his character and to the storyline. Following Ginny's death, Kuma steps into a new role with resolve. He chooses to become a guardian to Bonnie, collaborating with the island elders to raise her. Despite the weight of his new responsibility, Kuma remains committed to the Revolutionary Army's cause. He navigates the demands of guardianship and rebellion, periodically using his devil fruit powers to assist his comrades. Among these glimpses into his life, we see Kuma in the role of mentor, training a young Sabo. This provides a touching glimpse into the interconnected lives of the characters, showing how their paths intertwine and how Kuma influences the next generation of revolutionaries. However, as fate would have it, Bonnie starts to show signs of the sapphire scale disease, compelling Kuma to make a heartfelt decision. He steps away from the Revolutionary Army to devote himself entirely to her care. Dragon, understanding the gravity of the situation, gives his blessing to Kuma's departure and pledges to reach out to all the doctors he knows in search of a cure for Bonnie. In an effort to shield Bonnie from the perilous effects of the sapphire scale disease, Kuma makes the heart-wrenching decision to keep her within the sanctuary of a church, away from the natural light that exacerbates her condition. To offer her a semblance of the outside world, he brings her a collection of books, each telling tales of distant islands and cultures. Through these pages, Kuma encourages Bonnie to dream, asking her where she would choose to travel if she had the freedom to do so, nurturing her imagination and spirit within the confines of her imposed sanctuary. Amidst the challenging circumstances, Kuma and Bonnie find a way to carve out a semblance of happiness, with Kuma stepping into the role of a father figure. Their bond grows stronger with each passing day. In a tender revelation, We learn that Bonnie's moniker, Jewelry, stems from the unique manifestation of her illness, which left blue stones upon her face. It was Kuma, in his affection for her, who affectionately began to call her by this name, a name that would come to be known far and wide. The story leaps forward, bridging the gap to 6 years before the current timeline, presenting us with a 5-year-old Bonnie. During this time, Kuma has been in consultation with a physician regarding her condition. Despite all efforts to shield her from the triggers of her disease, the doctor delivers the somber prognosis that the sapphire scale will continue to progress with age, an inevitability not even the absence of natural light can prevent. This revelation adds a layer of urgency and poignancy to Bonnie's plight and the measures Kuma has taken to protect her. It is then revealed that she will die around 10, but an eavesdropping Bonnie is shown to have misunderstood that she'll be cured when she's around 10, as she only heard this part of the conversation. One Piece, Chapter 1098 sees Kuma conflicted, unable to tell her the truth due to having always promised her disease would one day be cured. The flashback then jumps 1 year forward in time, where King Bakori has returned to the Sorbet Kingdom and started to kill citizens. The chapter ends with people asking Kuma for help. With Kuma catching his breath as he tries to save as many people as he can from Bakori's savage actions. The citizens of Sorbet are fearful for his life. One of them yells, "You've done enough, Kuma! There's no saving anyone else. You'll only add yourself to the casualty list. Get out of there, please." As the southern province continues to burn and the buildings destroyed, Bakori claims that he drew inspiration for this effective policy from a kingdom in the Far East who did something similar to get into the good books of the world nobles. He adds that one must be willing to do the devil's work to ensure that a nation becomes rich and powerful. He is met with serious opposition as many did not ask for this, and they demand that Bakori stop burning the southern province. But he merely scoffs and says that they are not seeing the bigger picture. He then orders to kill 4 or 5 of them. Kuma finally arrives at the castle and storms through the door completely in rage. Bakori warns Kuma, "Don't you dare. There are consequences for those who take up arms against their king. It won't be pretty, you bumpkin of a priest." Kuma, with complete disregard for what Bakori had warned him of, completely demolishes the castle. As a result, this day would go down in the history books as Sorbet's one-man revolution. The scene shifts to the holy land of Mary Hoa, the warrior god of science and defense. Saturn J. Garcia is informed of Sorbet having a new king. Saturn finds it odd and asks who did the crown fall to. The new king is said to be Kuma himself, as the citizens of Sorbet would not take no for an answer. They desperately wanted him to be king, and he relented. Kuma claims that he's nothing but a figurehead. The reality is that the kingdom is being ruled by the previous king before Bakori. His name is Bulldog, to whom the people were very fond of. Kuma still resided in his church, healing the elderly with his powers, though the people would still call him their king. One day, Kuma and several others see a grown-up Bonnie running around in laps. Everyone is shocked, as she is supposed to be a lot younger than she looks. Bonnie says she was trying to build up her stamina so she can sail with her father by the time she turns 10. But even she was unaware of her current condition. When she looks in the mirror, her own shock causes her to change back into a little girl, and Gyogyo realizes Bonnie has eaten a devil fruit, which they learn is the Toshi Toshi no Mi, also known as the age fruit. Bonnie tries practicing making herself look old like a granny, but Kuma does not want her to overexert herself and says that her body can't handle it. Bulldog then appears in the church requesting an audience with Kuma. At the same time, he brought his mother, the Queen Dowager Connie, whom Gyogyo mistakenly thinks it's Bonnie that successfully made herself a granny. Gyogyo was amazed by how real Bonnie made herself look like a granny. Bulldog's request for an audience with Kuma was to inform him that Bakori is plotting another comeback. The headlines of the newspaper reads, "The Evil Tyrant," as the article outlines the acts of Kuma taking the throne by force, settling the fires, and destroying the buildings in Sorbet Kingdom himself. The people are outraged by Bakori's depravity and propaganda.
Bulldog says that Bikori still has the backing of the world government, and with reports suggesting his battleships are already on standby. He will most likely try to reclaim the throne by force. The people tell Kuma they do not want Bikori back, and that he will kill them if he returns. Kuma agrees with them as he feels the same way. He says that if Bikori attacks again, he will do all he can to fight back, even though it means he will not be able to stay in the country as the government will brand him a criminal. Kuma asks Bulldog to become Sorbet's official king and to take Bonnie in for her safety as the church won't be safe anymore. Bulldog accepts his requests and promises Kuma that they will make a new home that protects Bonnie from all sources of natural light. Kuma then parts ways with Bonnie, saying he'll be back as soon as he can. As Kuma heads out to sea, he's met with a fleet of marine ships. One of them occupies Bikori. He yells, "There he is! Be good Marines and shoot him! He's the tyrant who usurped my throne, the very definition of a corrupt dictator." He then orders the Marines to kill Kuma instantly and claims that he is Sorbet's rightful ruler. Kuma is furious and disgusted by the fact that Bikori dares to show his face again after his brutal actions. In his wrath and fury, Kuma sinks the entire fleet of marine ships, with his incredible power leading him to acquire a bounty shortly after. As he sailed around the world in search for a cure for Bonnie's disease, he visited places such as Torino Kingdom, Kuragana Island, where he was attacked by Abdullah and Jeet, who tried to claim his bounty but failed miserably, Karakuri Island, Wetheria, and the Bon Archipelago, where he tried to gain some clue to save Bonnie. Despite his persistent efforts, they remained futile. One day, as Kuma was out in the sea, he crosses paths with the Revolutionary Army's ship. "Hey, it's him, Kuma-chan," as Bello, Betty, Morley, and Gambo excitedly call for him. He reunites with Dragon, who told him that Iva and Inazuma got caught and sent to prison. Dragon asks how Kuma is doing as he hears Kuma has been having a lot of titles recently. Kuma is asked by Bello Betty if she could become the commander of the East Army, as Dragon would not let anyone else be the commander without Kuma's blessing, which he does. Dragon then tells Kuma that Sabo and Koala have come a long way since he last met them, and it would be nice if he saw it himself. And Kuma admits he would love to return to the Revolutionary Army one day. Dragon then changes the subject to Bonnie. He asks Kuma if he has heard of the marine scientist called Dr. Vegapunk. Because of an accident due to Caesar's actions, he has to switch labs and leave Punk Hazard. Dragon continues and says that it's usually tricky to get a hold of a man like Dr. Vegapunk, but because of him moving to switch labs, the security around Dr. Vegapunk might be lax. Kuma immediately prepares to leave and thanks Dragon for giving him a lead to cure Bonnie's disease. He adds that he will be ready to fight by his side once more if he can cure Bonnie's disease.
お前には
Dragon says, "Go where the winds of fate take you, my friend." Kuma returns home to Sorbet and reunites with Bonnie, who has learned to fight. He picks Bonnie up as the two go to the Marine Science Division, Lab 8, which is the future Egghead Island. Dr. Vegapunk sees Kuma and yells in astonishment, "People really do come in all shapes and sizes, don't they?" Kuma finds it funny as he thought the exact same thing when he saw Dr. Vegapunk. After being amazed at each other's appearances, Dr. Vegapunk tells Kuma that he can cure Bonnie using a technique that has never been used in the medical field until now. The new technique is stem cell transplant. He does a checkup on Kuma and finds out that he is a buccaneer, which prompts him to ask Kuma to be the template for his clone soldiers, as the cost for Bonnie's cure is as high as making a cyborg. Kuma accepts but asks what the clones will do, and Dr. Vegapunk tells him that they will have bodies so sturdy they can deflect bullets, and will be so powerful that they can defeat the pirates and protect the weak and helpless. Kuma is happy to hear this and agrees to the offer, even though Dragon will not be happy with this arrangement. It did not matter to Kuma as long as Bonnie could be cured and live beyond 10 years old. Dr. Vegapunk calls him a saint, and Kuma corrects him, saying he is a pacifist who wants peace, which leads to Dr. Vegapunk eventually calling the soldiers pacifista. The scene shifts to the holy land of Mary Hoa. Saturn says that Dr. Vegapunk is a fool for not making the most of this chance. Saturn believes that the cloned soldiers are meant to be weapons, and that a weapon's worth is defined by how many people it can kill. It no longer matters to Saturn, as he has his own ideas on how he will move forward with the project, and the chapter ends. Kizaru arriving at Egghead Island and inside Dr. Vegapunk's new lab. He tells Dr. Vegapunk that he's here on business as he was dispatched by Saturn. He says, "I'm afraid I'm here on business. Man, it's cold. This place sure is a far cry from Punk Hazard." This is interesting, as we all know that half of Punk Hazard looks like it was from the Ice Age. Dr. Vegapunk tells him that this lab will be the future, and his head is overflowing with so many ideas that it's honestly hard to think straight. Kizaru then realizes that was why Vegapunk hadn't noticed the world's government's hidden Den Mushi that was spying on him and eavesdropping on his conversation with Kuma. Kizaru told Vegapunk that he should have been more cautious and checked every corner of the lab when he had moved in. Dr. Vegapunk could only sigh. Kizaru then says, "The government frowns on secret backroom deals with pirates, you know." Vegapunk has no comeback. He admitted, Okay, you got me, Kizaru." Kizaru feels bad and says that he hates it when Vegapunk gets like this, and that he can't do anything about it as he is just doing his job. The scene quickly shifts to the coast of Egghead Island, where a bunch of Marines are including ex-Drake. They are there to ensure that the situation remains under control, though I personally don't think they would be able to control the situation if Kuma decides to go on a rampage. The scene shifts back to the room, this time with Kuma in the room along with Saturn's Den Mushi. Dr. Vegapunk talks with Saturn. Saturn tells Vegapunk that it's irrelevant whether he considers Kuma an ideal candidate. He adds that whether it was his ignorance or that he doesn't care, Kuma is a pirate that has a bounty of 296 million berries. Making a pirate the face of their clone program is simply unacceptable, as it would destroy the reputation of the Marines. As such, Saturn decides to negotiate with Kuma by adding his own set of conditions. We saw in the last chapter where Saturn thinks Vegapunk is a fool for not making the most of this chance, and that he has his own ideas. This set of conditions shows the ideas that Saturn has to make the most of this chance. The first condition is for Kuma to agree to become one of the 7 warlords of the sea. The world government found themselves a member short thanks to the exploits of a rookie named Ace a few days ago. This managed to cause quite a bit of stir in the pirate world. Someone as strong as Kuma would be a natural choice to fill that open position and bring order to the seas. The second condition is for Kuma to undergo procedures to become a human weapon for the Navy. Kuma asks Saturn if he is talking about modifying his body. Saturn confirms this and says, "You already have all the traits required to be an effective warlord. After you receive your enhancements, you will become the paragon of fear for the pirate scum far and wide." Dr. Vegapunk is seen speechless. Kizaru agrees with Saturn and says that the Marines would love to have Kuma on their side. Dr. Vegapunk is angry and tells Kizaru to shut it. Saturn continues. He tells Kuma that he isn't like other pirates and that they are well aware of his history with the Revolutionary Army. If Kuma accepts their offer, the world government must take precautions to ensure he never uses his power against them. This is the foundation of their third and final condition. Saturn's face grew dark with apathy and says, "You must agree to give up your free will and sense of individuality." Upon hearing that, Dr. Vegapunk is outraged and yells that it would be likened to killing him. Vegapunk asks if this condition was set because none of the other warlords follow orders and go about doing whatever they want. He exclaims, "If you snuff out all the humanity left in a cyborg, you'll have nothing but a robot. Do you really expect me to murder a man?" Saturn then reminds Vegapunk of his position and says, "You forget yourself. You're a military scientist and you have no right to talk back." He adds that these conditions must be met if this criminal wishes to save his daughter. He reminds Kuma that it's a small price to pay considering how expensive and difficult this procedure would be otherwise, and that he has no obligation to help this girl. Kuma puts his hands over his face as he tries to hold back his tears over his fate. Vegapunk continues in protest, saying, "This is murder. It'd be perverse to modify a human like that." He was immediately interrupted by Kuma as he requested for Vegapunk to do it. As Kuma continues to cover his face with his hands, he says, "I've been worrying all this time, thinking it might be impossible to save Bonnie." Dr. Vegapunk was left stunned as he could not believe what he was seeing. Kuma wasn't worried about himself at all. He was crying in tears of joy and gratitude. "I'm so grateful. I'll happily accept any fate so long as Bonnie is cured," he says. Tears began to fall from Vegapunk's eyes as he was touched by Kuma's love for his daughter. Kizaru lowered his hat a bit with respect for Kuma, and Saturn continues to remain apathetic. The scene quickly shifts elsewhere in the lab where Bonnie is seen running and playing with Sentomaru, being completely unaware of what just transpired. Saturn asks Vegapunk how long it would take to finish Kuma's enhancements and cure Bonnie's disease. Vegapunk replies that it will take a total of 1.5 years before Bonnie's disease is cured. It would take 6 months to deal with the sapphire scales and another year before she can be exposed to natural light. As for Kuma's enhancements, it would take at least 2 years. Kuma was so relieved and says, "Thank goodness. She really will be all better by the time she is 10. Saturn, still being focused on the deal, wanted more insurance. He says, "How can we trust you to remain obedient after she's cured? Your daughter is our only leverage here." Kuma adds that he has no intention of running. Saturn retorts that regardless of whether he intends to run or not, the world government will have to take custody of her once her treatment is completed. She would only be free after Kuma follows through with the erasure of his personality. Seriously, I can't wait for the day that Luffy kicks his ass, and I hope that it comes real soon. Vegapunk is outraged yet again and yells, "But that would mean Kuma won't get to see Bonnie after she's cured." Saturn, being completely unconcerned, affirms what Vegapunk had said. He says that his modifications will commence immediately and that it will be an ongoing process as he performs his duties as a warlord and helps the government to control the seas. He adds that after Bonnie is cured, there will be no further contact between them to ensure they do not escape. Saturn then warns that if there is any hint of defiance from any of them, Saturn guarantees that Bonnie will spend the rest of her life as a slave. Kuma is shocked as his fate just got even worse, but he assures and swears to Saturn that he won't try to see her. "I only have one request," Kuma says. "Don't tell Bonnie the truth. She can't know about her illness or that she is being kept as a hostage." Kuma continues with his request, saying that he does not want her to wake up after her surgery in some lifeless government facility. He requested for her to be taken back to Sorbet, kept in the church where she grew up. He promises Saturn that if he could grant him that one request, he won't seek her out and will obey the world government without question. Saturn contemplates for a moment and says, "Very well." He adds that it makes no difference where she's kept, as long as the government oversees it, and that the next 2 years will be interesting for them. Kuma sees Bonnie and tells her that they will be staying in Egghead Island for the next 6 months. Bonnie is excited that she gets to stay with her father as he lies to her that they need to run some tests on him, as they think he might have come down with something. Just being with her father was enough to make Bonnie happy. Bonnie introduces Sentomaru to Kuma and calls him a weirdo, and Sentomaru was not too fond of that. As Bonnie was out running around and playing earlier, she shared with Kuma that the lab has so many windowless rooms. Vegapunk warns Bonnie to be careful as there are all sorts of dangerous gadgets around the lab. After all the preparations are made, Vegapunk yells, "That's it! I can create the weapon of my dreams now. Someone needs to write everything I'm thinking down. Damn it! The brain waves won't stop. If only they could eat and use the toilet for me too. I'd never have to stop." Vegapunk was getting annoyed by how short-handed he was, and another eureka moment came to him. "This is going to keep me as busy as a beaver," Vegapunk says. "I wish there were 5 more of me." Of course, this eventually inspired him to create the Vegapunk satellites. As time passed, Kuma received his modifications, and Bonnie received her treatment. During that time, they had gotten close to Dr. Vegapunk, Sentomaru, and Kizaru. They all enjoyed a huge pizza together and were really happy with each other. Shortly after, they had everyone dancing to the drums of liberation, which is the biggest shock of this chapter. 6 months had passed, and after looking at Bonnie's results, Dr. Vegapunk says that she will be completely cured after a year of rehabilitation. Kuma thanked Vegapunk for the success of her surgery. Bonnie thanked Vegapunk and asked if she could visit once she is better, and Vegapunk said, "Of course." Kuma and Bonnie return to Sorbet Kingdom with everyone excited to see them again after so long. Bonnie proudly says that she will be better in a year and that she will finally be able to go outside. The citizens there were happy to hear the fantastic news, as Bonnie had always said that she would be fit as a fiddle by the time she turned 10. An old lady enters the church and asks, "Does this mean I'll be taking care of you again, Bonnie?" Bonnie was so happy to see her again after so long and yelled, "Granny Connie!" Connie assures Kuma that they would be more than happy to take care of Bonnie. Kuma thanks them and says that he won't be able to stay as he is still a pirate after all, and that it wouldn't be good for the kingdom. He carries Bonnie and tells her that he doesn't think he will be back for at least a year. Bonnie was shocked by how long he will be gone for, but Kuma promises her that he will write a bunch of letters to her. Bonnie says, "Okay, the next I see you, we'll both be able to sail the seas and reach the horizon." Kuma says, "I can't wait." Bonnie continues in excitement, "I want to travel to all sorts of places together." Kuma says, "I'd love to take you," as he thinks that he would have loved that, as it's no longer a possibility. Shortly after, someone enters the church and says, "Please leave the rest to us, Kuma's son." She is none other than Cipher Pole number 8 intelligence agent Alpha. She introduces herself to everyone as Bonnie's nurse. She says, "The doctor ordered me to take care of Bonnie Chan during her recovery. I'll check her temperature daily, make sure she takes her medicine, and monitor for any changes." She approaches Bonnie and says, "My name is Alpha. Nice to meet you, Bonnie Chan." Shortly after, a gate and a checkpoint was created. Alpha says, "No suspicious individuals will be allowed near her during recovery. Please remember to bring identification with you if you plan on visiting." Someone says that's such a pain and asks what's the building she's putting up in front of the church. Alpha tells them that it's their accommodations. Alpha pulls something out in front of Kuma and reminds him what will happen if he does not honor the deal made with Saturn. Kuma understands and affirms that he isn't coming back. Kuma places his hand on Bonnie's head and thanks her with a smile and says, "I'm so glad you were born." As he walks out of the church, the citizens and Bonnie happily send him off. As the days go by, news of Kuma being one of the 7 warlords begins to spread. The pirates of the world were utterly shocked. Sugar says, "Young master, there's a new warlord." Doflamingo sees the news and says, "Kuma, the tyrant? Sounds like another villain has come into play," and laughs. Robin reads the article and asks Crocodile for what he thinks, but he couldn't care less. Instead, he asks Robin if she has taken care of those people who spotted their rain-making ship. Mihawk remains unnerved as he sees the news. Alvida says he looks as big as Whitebeard and asks Kobe who he thinks is stronger. Kobe, being afraid as always, says she is stronger than Kuma. On Moby Dick, the Whitebeard pirates are seen reading the news as well. Ace says, "So they finally found a replacement? That's great news, Jinbei." Jinbei says that considering the circumstances, Ace was the last person he'd expect to say that, especially since Ace rejected the offer to become a warlord. Jinbei was surprised to read that he's a former king and that the pirate world is changing. Boa Hancock says that the news doesn't affect the Kujab pirates as she follows no man's orders, but Gloriosa reminds her that it's essential that she keeps track of information like this. Gecko Moria reacts to the news by laughing and says, "They say he's a paw-palmed man. That doesn't exactly sound frightening, does it?" Perona tells Moria that he's already a warlord, so he's got to be strong enough to make the cut. Dragon sees the news but remains quiet. Sabo and Koala were shocked. "Don't the warlords answer directly to the government?" Sabo asks. "Kuma-san would never work for them," Koala says. The scene shifts to Kuma's ship. He begins writing his letter to Bonnie. "Dear Bonnie, I'm still at sea as I write this. I've become quite well known and it's getting harder and harder to sail in peace, but I'm doing okay. I'm doing my best to find interesting travel destinations for you when you turn 10. He tells the Cocoa Bird that it will be a long journey to deliver the letter and to take care. As Kuma states into the sky, he hopes that everyone back in Sorbet is doing as well as he is. The scene shifts to Luffy in his village without his brothers as he is training. Luffy laughs and says, "I made him mad." The scene shifts back to Kuma's ship. Kuma receives new commands from the world government. He was in East Blue and asked what his orders were as he was seen just outside of Fuchsia Village.
If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. It helps motivate us to create more One Piece content like this for you.